Did you know that there was an international day, International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is January 27th? And we're having in Texas our second annual Holocaust Remembrance Week, which was the 25th through the 29th. And this is the day that the 27th is the day that Auschwitz was liberated by Allied troops. And I don't know if you know anything about Nazis and World War II, but I want to, in honor of this week, I want to read The Yellow Star. This is written by Karma Agradidi, and I love this author. And this actually was a Bluebonnet book about 18 years ago. So before I read this, let me see if I can pause it and get you to Britannica to show you some information. This is The Yellow Star, the legend of King Christian X of Denmark. And so this is a legend, so it's based on historical things, but it's not like 100% accurate. But King Christian, let's look up and see some information about him. So I went to Britannica, and I see that here's Christian X, King Christian X, and it says this is what he's remembered for. During the World War II occupation of Denmark by the Nazis, he inspired his people by refusal to cooperate with the invaders. He was a German prisoner from 1943 to 1945. So I think that's very interesting. Let me pause this and make big screen again. Okay, so The Yellow Star, the legend of King Christian X of Denmark. Early in the year 1940, in the country of Denmark, there were only Danes. Tall Danes, stout Danes, old Danes, silly Danes, cranky Danes, and even some Great Danes. But no matter how different from each other they seemed, the Danes held one thing in common. They were all loyal subjects of their beloved King Christian. Every morning, their king rode alone and unarmed along the streets of Denmark's capital, Copenhagen. And that's true. "Who's that?" a curious visitor once asked. "Why, that's our King Christian," his Danish host responded. "Without a bodyguard?" asked the astonished guest. "My friend," came the proud reply, "a king so loved needs no bodyguard. We Danes would all stand together in defense of our king." Little did the Danes know how much they would need their wise king in the dark days to come. Like a fierce storm, war was spreading across Europe, and even good King Christian was powerless to stop it. Soon, Nazi soldiers gathered like dark clouds at the Danish border. Oh, I love that simile, that figure of speech. Nazi soldiers gathered like dark clouds at the Danish border, kind of foreshadowing too. Their arrival in Copenhagen brought food shortages, curfews, and a new flag, which was hung at the palace. The flag stood for war and fear and hatred. Do you recognize that Nazi flag there? The Danes watched and waited to see what their king would do. King Christian sent a Danish soldier to remove the flag. Upon discovering it missing, a Nazi officer demanded to see the king and asked, "Who took down the flag?" "I sent a soldier to remove it," replied the king. "Oh, you did you? Well, tomorrow another will fly in its place," the officer boasted. "Then tomorrow I will send another soldier to remove it," countered the king. "And I will have that man shot," threatened the Nazi, which sometimes they did. People didn't do what they said. Leaning forward, King Christian said evenly, "Then be prepared to shoot the king, for I will be that soldier." The Nazi flag did not fly from the palace again. Oh, I wonder if that part's true. The missing flag became a powerful symbol of resistance, and Christian subjects found reasons to pass the palace gates to see where it once hung. But that did actually happen. Yet it was only a small victory. The king and his people's greatest test was still to come. The terrible news arrived quietly with leaflets that fluttered down on the city of Copenhagen, effective immediately. All Jews must sew onto their clothing a yellow star, which must be visible at all times. And this is definitely factual. That was an order. The people of Denmark were frightened. They had heard terrible stories in some places. Once Jews wore the yellow star, they were taken away and not heard from again. As before, the people looked to their king. This time, the king was as frightened as his people. Without the yellow star to point them out, the Jews looked like any other Danes. Gentiles and Jews were all Danish subjects who worshipped God in different ways. If King Christian called on the tiny Danish army to fight, Danes would die. If he did nothing, Danes would die. That's what you call between a rock and a hard place. Perhaps it was this riddle of the yellow star that drew King Christian to his balcony at night. The sky was filled with the light of many stars. If you wish to hide a star, wondered the king to himself, where would you place it? His eyes searched the heavens. Of course, he thought, the answer was so simple. You would hide it among its sisters. The king summoned his tailor. The tailor arrived and listened to the king's surprising request. We only have an hour before I ride at dawn, the king said urgently. Can you complete this task in time? Yes, your highness. I'll begin immediately. The tailor bowed respectfully. And do you understand what this means? The king insisted. I do, your highness, as will all your subjects, he answered with pride. I trust they will, whispered the king, placing as much faith in his Danish subjects as they had in him. The following morning, the king of Denmark, with courage and defiance, rode alone through Copenhagen. He was dressed in his finest clothing. You see, star right on his jacket. As they watched him pass, the subjects of King Christian understood what they should do. And once again, in the country of Denmark, there were only Danes, because everybody had a star. What a great legend. Now I want to read a little bit about the author's note here. Legend, a traditional story sometimes popularly repeated as historical, but it's unauthorized. It's considered a myth. The story of the yellow star is a legend. It may be disappointing to the reader as it first was to this author to learn that there is no proof that this story ever occurred. I learned of it as a scrap of a tale told to me by a stranger. Its imagery was so compelling and its humanity so palpable that I wanted to know more. Over the years, despite collecting various oral versions of the story, researching documents and works of fiction, most notably Lois Lowry's moving novel, Number the Stars. I think I read that when I was about 4th grade, maybe 5th grade. Number Stars, great book. I found only unauthenticated references to King Christian's legendary defiance, and I learned of many facts in their own rights were as powerful as the legend itself. I learned that, and these things are true, the beloved King of Denmark did indeed ride unescorted, unprotected through the streets of Copenhagen. Stories about the king's support of Danish Jews began to circulate throughout Europe as early as 1943, including his threat to wear the yellow star in solidarity with the Jews. Maybe that's why he went to prison. No Jews within Denmark were forced to wear the yellow star. Among Nazi-occupied countries, only Denmark rescued the overwhelming majority of its Jews. Over 7,000 Danish Jews were smuggled to Sweden in fishing boats, 12 to 14 at a time, by groups of Danes called the Helsingør Sewing Club. Yet the legendary only grows stronger. Why? Perhaps it's because we need it. The allegory of the yellow star used by the Nazis to divide and shame became, in this legend, a symbol of unity and hope. It is a story that should be told. What if it had happened? This is what the author is wondering. What if every Dane, from shoemaker to priest, had worn the yellow star of David? And what if we would follow that example today against violations of human rights? What if the good and strong people of the world stood shoulder to shoulder, crowding the streets and filling the squares, saying, you cannot do this injustice to our sisters and brothers, or you must do it to us as well? What if? And I think that's one reason that we actually have the Holocaust Remembering Week, so that we don't forget and repeat this mistake like it.